Hey, it's Jackie from 35th Ave Sew and Vac, and I am so excited because it's Pam from Bernina.
Hi everybody, so glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks Jackie for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm so excited because you know my passion in serging.
I know.
I love to serge, and we've been
Serging a long time.
exactly a very long time. But we have some exciting things to show them on the Bernina, so I cannot wait to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess we should do a couple housekeeping things.
Sure, go right
We should.
ahead.
So a couple things, how you can win prizes. Number
Everybody
one.
loves prizes.
Yeah, exactly. We have to win prizes. Number one with that, all you have to do is go to our website, and there's a link on there. You can win a prize from there, or you can comment, share, tell the world about 35th Avenue and Bernina, and there you go. That's the way you win a prize. We do drawings at the end. We'll give you a call if you won, so you better, or email or whatever, so you make sure you answer us. You win something great, because we have some really good giveaways.
Great.
I think we even have a foot thing for Bernina.
Oh, nice. Everybody loves feet.
I know, exactly. So.
Of overlock and sergers that Bernina has brought into the marketplace. And we are going to start by looking at the L850.
We're excited. And we have some great prices on the machine. So if you want to purchase, you can go to any of our location, which is on the screen here, or you can call our toll-free number at 1-877-242-6282. There's a lot of twos in there.
There's a lot of twos.
Extension 3, and you will be routed to a sales expert that can help you. But we'll show you prices after we give you some really cute demos. And exactly, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so are we ready?
Well, I think we're ready.
Take a look at them.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, good.
I'm so excited.
We are going to first take a look at the development of the L8 series machines. This is really, really very, very nice. Presentation that has been put together by Bernina, and it really shows you the quality, the longevity that Bernina is known for, and all the great ways that they have put together the new series of L8 overlocks for you. So we're going to show you that right now.
Meet Steckborn, a charming small town in Switzerland, situated between a turquoise lake and lush rolling green hills. It's the home of Bernina and the birthplace of the ultimate overlocker. The Swiss are known for precision. It's kind of our thing. And it takes time, hours upon hours, because making things perfectly, exactly precise to the nth degree, that's all us. So when it was time to develop a new line of cutting-edge overlockers, we challenged ourselves, pushed boundaries, poured over plans, and engineered a machine we absolutely love. Then came the testing and optimization. We tested and tested tested and tested again. Then, because we're Swiss, we repeated the tests. After all, precision is in our DNA. Then came production. Our new Swiss-engineered, mega-tested overlockers are produced at Bernina, Thailand, the most modern sewing machine production facility in the world, where teams of experts precisely assemble our unparalleled next-generation machine. But why, you may ask, go to so much trouble? Other overlockers do just fine without all this fuss. You may be right, but no one ever fell in love with just fine. And that is precisely our mission. We want you to love your Bernina. From our engineers to those shaping each perfect part, to our test sewers, to the person who carefully packages your machine for its journey to you, to each member of our founding family, every last one of us is committed to you, loving your Bernina. Experience a machine like no other. Join a family like no other. And love your new Bernina overlocker like no other. Bernina, made to create.
And I just am so excited and proud to be able to present to you the L850 Bernina overlocker. And as you see the machine, you're really going to be excited. As you come in closer to the L850, you're going to be able to see that the machine itself actually looks like a sewing machine, right? And as you look at this machine, you're going to notice that all of the dials and all of the buttons that you're going to be working with are very forward facing. You also will find that it has this large work surface and area that you're going to be able to rest your fabrics on. Now, when you work with an overlock machine, you notice that in the video it talked about being on the edge, and here we're going to be working with the overlock machines, and it's going to be a 4-thread, a 3-thread, and a 2-thread overlock machine. So then as we open this door and you take a look at the inside of the machine itself, you're going to notice that all of your tools are going to be, let me catch up here, okay, all your tools are going to be right down on the door of the machine itself, okay? All those tools are right there. They're easy and they're handy for you to access. Also, you're going to find inside of your machine that when you're stitching, your needle will always stop in the up position. Now what allows,
That is a really cool feature.
I love that feature, because when you're working with the overlock machines, you never have to reach over and turn your hand wheel or get your needle in the right position. But the benefit of having your needles stopping in the up position is that your cutting blade also stops in the up position. So have any of you, when you're working with your overlock machines, have you ever scooted your fabric beyond the beginning portion of the blade so that when you start to stitch, it actually misses that first portion of cutting?
I've done that.
I've done that myself too. And this way, you're not going to miss even the beginning part of your stitching when you first start to sew, or misplace that cutting area. Now, we have a large sewing area that you're going to be working with, and I'm just kind of giving you a little tour or highlight of some of the great features that you have on here as well. Now, I'm going to share with you the threading system. Come on over.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Now, you're going to see that there aren't any buttons, there aren't any dials that you have to push in order to make this happen. I am going to turn over the lever, and that automatically brings the threading tubes together, which you might be familiar with. But now I'm going to step on the foot pedal, and my hands are free to hold on to those fabrics. So when I step on the foot pedal, you hear a little bit of a hum and a buzz, and I'm simply going to place the thread right above that threading nozzle, let go, and it pulls it right through. So let me show you with the, since he's up close there again, over to where the blue and the, there you go. So just simply step on the foot pedal, hover the thread, and it sucks it right into that threading area, and it threads both your upper and your lower looper in the same way.
That was easy.
I know.
Very easy.
Very easy. You don't have to stuff the thread in. It pulls it, picks it up, and it pulls it right through. Plus, you also have a needle threader that's built into the L850 as well. Okay?
That's awesome, because you know, these young eyes,
They're not always so young anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that. Now, also, I mentioned to you that you have this flat sewing table that you can work with, but which also comes with your machine. But when you slide this away, it exposes the free arm.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you get those small cuffs.
So you get the small cuffs, you're able to stitch around pant legs and open areas that you're not able to always access when you have a flat sewing area. And it doesn't limit your differential feed either when you have that free arm
nice.
system.
That's...
Okay? All right. Now, speaking of systems, there's also the hands-free system, which is your knee lift,
Oh, that's
which
nice.
is fabulous. And earlier I mentioned that your needles always stop in the up position.
Right.
I'm going to lean down here and pick this up for just a minute, because now you also have the Bernina foot control.
Oh, that's...
Which
can't
is-
live without.
Can't live without that. And as you notice on here, it has the needle up and down position. So if I'm stitching along and I need my needle in the opposite direction and I don't want to turn or don't need to turn my hand wheel, I just simply tap on my foot pedal and that's going to move my needle to the opposite position. Super nice. Okay. Now little things mean a lot on the machines as well. So there's also this needle pad, which is going to hold the needles in position so you don't have to poke the thread into the...
That's what I used to do. It's just put the thread up there. I
Yeah.
think that's a great...
It's a great little
Yeah.
addition on the
amazing, that
machines.
little
And
thing.
again, those little things that mean a lot.
Right.
So what we're going to do is spend some extra time and we're going to take a look real quick. I'm going to do a little bit of stitching.
Nice.
And then, Jackie, I think you're going to tell them a little bit about getting one of these great
Oh,
machines.
yes, you can definitely. Are you going to stitch a little or?
Yeah, I'm going to stitch a little, and I just also want to attach this little seam guide, because when we're doing garments or we're going to be doing any type of stitching, if you're wanting to have an accurate seam width, you can snap this on and it comes with the machine, and you're then able to use that as your guide for seaming. So simply adjust this to the distance you want your seam allowance to be, and then as you stitch, it's just going to help you guide everything accurate and evenly.
That is nice.
I love that. And it does have this little catcher that all of your little trash will fall into,
You mean I don't have to vacuum my floor after I'm done?
or your lap.
Or lap.
Or your lap,
your
that's
clothes,
right.
you know, where
Yeah.
all your...
And let me just grab this sample and show everyone up close. Because the machine itself also, let me get it set so we can see that. Okay, see how nice and wide that gold thread is? You have 9mm wide
Wow.
stitching. So
That's
any
nice.
of you out there that love to do decorative work, 9mm wide stitching, contrasting to others that are only 7.5mm wide. So you have a much wider decorative functionality, but you can also use that for wider applications of 2-thread flat lock and when you're attaching bindings and things.
And one of the questions we have, since you have the sample, is decorative thread.
Oh, yes. Yes. So on here, you can see that this is actually an 8-weight thread that we used in both of the loopers to create that beautiful edge stitching that's there on the fabric. So you can use the air threading also when you're going to be using a textured nylon thread.
Gotcha.
It picks it up and it pulls it right in, even if you're using a 12-weight thread.
We don't need a cradle or anything
You don't
like
need
that?
to use a cradle
That's
with
nice.
that as well. Okay, and this is stitched on a foam, like the soft and stable foam, and you'll find that it picks it up very, very easily, even if you're stitching seams like on a bag where you have 2 layers of that foam. It'll just pull it right through.
We did vinyl the other day, and it, with even a Teflon foot, it actually went through the vinyl without.
Out.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, because we're working with a DC motor on the machines, it really does give you better penetration and more strength
Strength to
when
go
it's
through
going
it.
to be pulling
Yeah, it
through.
didn't pucker or anything. It just went through without a
Yeah,
problem, which
and
was
you
great.
know, I wish we could if I wish those of you that were online could experience, so I want you to come in here and experience these machines.
They can still come in today and experience it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I wish we could have you feel what these machines are like. They feel just like your sewing machine feels. And the way that it pulls the fabrics in, the way that it's going to, the way you position yourself and sit in front of the machines, it feels just like you're in front of your sewing machine. And they're super quiet.
They are. When you stitch that, you can barely, I mean, it was nice.
Yeah, they're very, very quiet. Okay, so Jackie, why don't you tell the
we
the
have
viewers there.
a great deal on this machine. So I use my clicker. They give me a clicker again today. I'm so excited. On it. There we go. So we have the Bernina L850, and regular it runs $44.99. We have it on sale for $39.99, the expo price. Plus, we're giving a free trolley, and of course, the big book of serging. Yeah, it's a great little extra. It's like Pam next to you.
Yeah.
Not quite, but you know, at midnight, you know, you have that question and you want to do something. It's, you know, having that extra person like, oh, wait, I need to do this. Well, how do I set it up? Or what's the tricks and tips and all that like that?
Right. And it gives you a lot of extra decorative ways of using the machines as well.
Right,
because
exactly.
sometimes we just always stay right there on the edge, and we don't want to venture off the edge or do extra creative things because, oh my goodness, you know, we might mess something up.
Right.
But you see very easily how you can thread the machines, you can thread to different types of threads, and also not have to worry about getting it all, and threading in any order, I forgot to mention.
Oh yeah, that's big,
huge when you're using machines with air threading, is you can thread in any order. If your thread comes undone, you just reinsert it and away you go.
You know, when I test drove the machine, I was so impressed because, you know, again, I love serging. It's just something, but I like to put the test to the machine. I was like, I'm putting this thread in, that thread in there. I'm trying all this, and it came out perfect every time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
All have those first time
First time. But you know, I put everything through it. I, you know, went thick to thin to everything, and it turned out great. So, you know, I had to put it to the test. So, it. So great price on this. But what you were telling me earlier, Pam has an extra deal on this machine.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So we actually are going to be able to give you an extra special price on the machine as well, since we're here and we have that opportunity to give you an additional $500 off.
$500? That's a great deal. So $34.99 on the L850 Bernina. Again, if you want the machine, all of our stores are open. You can call one of the locations, or you can come see Pam. We'll be here this afternoon.
Right.
And you can test drive, because you have to sew. It's a Bernina. I'm just saying, it's a true Bernina. They're precise. It's just when you sit down like sewing on a Bernina sewing machine, it's like that. I mean, you don't even know you're sewing on a serger. It's so precise.
Right. The feel that the machine has.
I was amazed at how well that felt when I.
Yeah. Well, you know, so many times, as we talk with customers, so guess what, Jackie? We've got something more to show them.
Ooh, I'm so excited! Yay!
I know. So go ahead and roll that other quick little video, and we're gonna move on over.
Yay! Excited.
And you're going to notice that what we have different here is that the machine itself has a screen. So I'm going to wait until he can come over and get in a little bit closer. Perfect. That is
like a
perfect.
sewing machine
Just
screen.
like your sewing machine screen. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yes, so if you are if you've ever had any kind of fear of using an overlock machine, or you're like, oh, I don't know if I can change from one stitch to another, it's built in. It's built right into the screen for you. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here at the screen because we looked at the physical features of the machine when we were at the L850, and you do have all of those same physical features. The size of the machine itself, the bed of the machine is going to be the same size, which is actually bigger than any other serger on the market. You do have the freehand system. You're going to have all of your tools on board. Your threading is going to be exactly the same using that one-step Bernina air threading system. What you have different on here than from the 850 is that you have a combo machine. So you're able to sew with both chain, cover, and overlock stitching all in one machine. So back here on the screen, as we look at the screen itself, you're going to notice, and let's see if we can get right along the side, you can select your stitches. You have a favorites area, which we're going to look at in just a minute. It will also give you an advisory screen and your stitching screen. So let's go to the bottom. Here you have your home icon. You have a question mark because sometimes Jackie's not available. We're not able to call in and say, how do I do this? Or what is this feature for? You can touch the question mark, then touch on your screen, and it will tell you what that feature is for. Now, let's go to the home icon. With the home icon, you have two different modes that you're going to work within. You have guided and you have expert. Now, if you are feel you're an expert,
Just like you, Pam.
or yourself, or those of you that are watching and you do repeated settings over and over again, you would consider yourself in the expert mode, and you don't have to have any assistance, or no one needs to hold your hand to go from one stitch to another. But
there are days.
There are days that even the experts need a little
Exactly.
bit of hand holding or advice. And for those of you that are like, oh my goodness, there is no way I can ever remember how to switch from one area to another, right? Mm-hmm. So this guided mode is going to take you through the setup of the machine from the beginning to the end. But the extra cool part is that it will even remember what stitch you left off on.
I did not know that.
Yes. So it doesn't say that you are always starting with the same stitch. It will remember wherever you left off. So if I'm starting now at a chain stitch and I'm going to go to the overlock stitch, I simply touch the guided mode, touch the stitch that I'm wanting to stitch, touch the overlock, touch 4-thread overlock, and now as you can see on the screen, it's going to take you through step by step what you need to do in order to move from a chain stitch to an overlock stitch. So here we have, from the beginning, raising your presser foot. Next, showing you what threads to cut.
Nice.
If you forget how to cut a thread, you could simply touch this little video and it's going to show you, and those videos are built right in on the machine.
You don't have to have your book next to you.
You don't have to have your book next to you. You don't have to, when you come to class, I know myself included, I'll write down all kinds of notes, and then by the time I get home, I either forget where the notes are or I don't remember what I had written down.
Right.
Okay, so it's all built in right here for you. So you'll take yourself right through step by step, what foot to use, what pressure to set your machine on. So it'll take you through where to position your needles. And I have a really cool trick to show you in just a minute when we move into these different settings, where your cutting blade is going to be, what your cutting width is going to be, and stitch width is going to be. Also, when you get to the point of your threading. So we're all the way through the settings up to the point of needing to re-thread. So remember how it showed us how to cut the thread
Right.
and pull it out. Here, it's actually going to show us how to rethread the machines for that stitch that we've selected. Okay? Now, the machine also has, while we're looking at this, the machines also have what's called one-path threading. So that means that no matter what kind of stitch I'm going to use, I always use the same thread path. So maybe if we can zoom out just a little bit, and we're going to come over to the threading slots, and you'll see that there are 5 different threading slots here at the top,
Nice.
right?
Okay.
So anytime I'm using my needle for the left sewing position, whether it's an overlock or it's a chain and cover stitch, my thread always goes through this yellow path, always. So it's
You
always
don't have
the
to
same
change
path.
like back and forth.
No,
Yep.
no, it's always that same path.
Nice.
That makes it super easy and less confusing, right? Okay, so now let's come back on into the screen, very good. And then we would be all set for our 4-thread overlock stitch. Now here, also on the screen, you'll be able to see that you can program your needle either in the up position or the down position. Very nice when you're putting and fastening elastic onto a garment, or you're needing to reposition your fabric or your hands. You can use that needle in the down position and leave it in the down position. But again, your foot pedal has the opportunity to simply tap on it and it'll bring the needle to the opposite position. You also have built-in stitch length as well as differential feed right on the screen. Now, if you make any type of changes to the stitch itself, you'll notice, and just like on your sewing machine, that box comes around it, it's the yellow box, and that indicates that a change has been made. So if we want to go back to the standard setting or default setting, just simply touch that box and it takes you right back to that standard setting.
That's a great feature.
I like that. I like that. And again, many of us are not familiar with differential feed or what it's actually going to do. Do I move it above one to get gathering? Do I move it below? We sometimes get confused on that. So you can touch the little video camera and it will again show you what differential feed is going to do.
That's great, because people forget what it is all the time.
Yeah.
It's a nice reminder.
And it'll show you on both directions exactly what it's going to do. Okay, so now we're on the screen. So we have several different ways of making a stitch selection. So 1 would be in that guided mode. 2 is in the expert mode. So we just simply, I'll call that the aim and shoot.
Gotcha.
Right? So
Yep.
you pick it, thread it, and stitch it.
Right.
Or maybe you know the fabric you're going to use, you know the stitch you want to use, but you don't know exactly what setting, or you know the end result that you want, but you don't know what stitch. So you can come back into the home page and you have the Creative Consultant that you can select. So when you touch Creative Consultant, you have several different fabric options to choose from, whether you're in woven or knit or piled fabrics here, or unusual fabrics. You can then select that fabric type, or if you're not exactly sure what that fabric type is, just simply touch the question mark, then touch that fabric type, and it will list off to you different fabrics within that category, okay? So that gives you a lot of information. So we've selected our fabric type. Now we have several different options of end results that we want. So let's say we're going to do some gathering. So we can simply touch gathering. It will again show us exactly what stitch it's going to take us to. It's also going to show us what foot to use, what needle to use, what type of thread to use. And when we select the check mark, because I'm in the guided mode, it's going to again walk me through up to the stitching point.
Nice.
Okay?
That's easy.
It's easy. You know,
very easy, yeah.
if you can read the directions, read the screen,
Right.
it's all right there.
And
Okay.
everything's like the Bernina screen on the sewing machine.
Exactly.
I mean, it's all the similar icons, all that. Yeah.
All the icons are all they're familiar, they're the
Right.
same. You don't have that, oh my goodness, I don't know what that icon is going
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
do or
Right.
what it means.
Right.
Now, you can see on the screen here also that some of the settings have changed. Because what you also can do with the L890 is you can create your very own stitches. Those are called signature stitches. And the way that I might like the stitch may be different from the way you like the stitch.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So the way that you can make these changes, you can save up to 100 different stitches
Wow.
into the machine, and you can label them for your own remembrance. You
I was
know,
gonna say, 'cause, yeah,
the
you'll
way
be
I
all-
remember it might not be the same way you
Exactly,
remember
yeah.
it, right? But here's a stitch that I had created. Let me see, I'll move it up so you can see it. And what I did is I took my lower looper thread, which was black, and my upper looper thread, which was white, and I set my stitch width at 9 millimeters. So now I adjusted my stitch so that instead of the loops meeting along the very edge, it now becomes a two-tone decorative stitch
That's awesome.
right through the middle. So those are the types of stitches that you can make and create and then save. Okay?
Nice.
So you can save that then, and each time you would want to make that stitch, you would be able to simply touch the little heart. You can save it into memory. You can then label it, and I'm just going to touch a couple of letters there.
We'll be all like, what is that?
What is that? I know when you get this back to the floor, you're going to go, what do those mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just erase it and
That-
start
that's
again.
right.
And again, you can program in 40 different characters into that description. So it could be the technique, the kind of stitch, a weight of thread. So if I know I'm going to be using a 12 weight thread, I could place that into the description as well. And then I can save it. And then these are also manual settings, so you could change the speed, and it would change the speed. If you're working with a metallic thread, you know you don't want to sew really fast with metallic thread, so you can adjust that in the machine for that setting automatically.
No brainer.
No brainer. Touch the stitch and away you go. All right, so now we are actually set. I'm going to come back to a chain stitch, and we're going to do a little bit of stitching.
Oh,
Okay?
how fun.
All right, so come on down over here to the machine. And actually we have the machine setting in the Horn serger cabinet or studio. And you'll notice that it gives us a much larger work surface for us to use. But just as we showed you on the L850, the machine does have a free arm, so you can raise this up and then slide the tray off, and now you have this free arm area still within your cabinet.
Nice.
Okay? Again, it's that electric lift. Now,
And it's quiet. You didn't even know that you lifted it
yeah.
up. And you didn't even get out of the chair.
I didn't have to get out of the chair.
Sure.
That's right. Okay, now you're going to find that the L890 comes with 2 presser feet. It comes with the standard C11 foot as well as the C13 chain and cover stitch foot. You'll also notice that both of these feet have the markings that are on the toe of the foot, so you know exactly where your needles are going to be positioned for guiding. You can work with either the chain stitch foot or the C11 foot when you're working with chain stitching. So depending upon what you're going to be doing and what your technique is going to be. So I pointed out that free arm for you because when we are looking at the chain stitch or the cover stitch, sometimes you may work with that stitch on a hem, right?
Right, exactly.
So you have it in a cylinder, and it's
Gotcha.
important for you to be able to come over that free
The
or
free
use
arm,
that
yeah.
free arm area. Okay. So when we work with the chain stitch, I just have some decorative thread that we placed into the machine. Isn't that pretty?
That is. It's
I
very
love
pretty.
that variegated thread. And again, by using your freehand system, you can slide that fabric underneath the presser foot, but then also, let me select my stitch. Because we went around so many different places. Okay, so now we're on the chain stitch. We have our stitch length set at 3. Our needle, because this is something I'm going to use for decorative and maybe move the fabric around some, I'd lower my needle into the fabric so I could reposition. Okay, so we're all set, ready to go, and we're just going to do some stitching.
It is so quiet.
I know, it's like you're hardly even stitching.
Exactly.
Okay, and you can see how easy it is to maneuver that fabric underneath the presser foot with that chain stitch. Okay.
Wait, did you just sew off?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
oh yeah. With the chain stitch, just sew right off.
Oh.
And you can just continue to sew and make a tail if you're wanting to use this for decorative work. Here I used the chain on the button and covered the button with the tail, the serger tail.
Nice.
Okay. You could also use that and you could chain a whole lot of it, and you could, if you're a knitter or you crochet, you could use this as yarn.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Okay, because sometimes you can't find a yarn that actually matches what you've actually stitched, so your yarn could then match. But so we've added another line of decorative stitching there with our chain stitch.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, let's take this and make it into a cover stitch.
All right.
All right. So all I need to do is I'm just going to touch my needle up, and I'm going to tap on my foot pedal,
Okay.
and that brings my needle to the highest position. Stay up here on the screen, and I'm going to go to the expert mode. I'm going to select the narrow cover stitch. Okay, narrow cover stitch, and I'm going to be in the center and the right position. Touch the check mark, and all I need to do is take my thread, add it in.
So you don't have to rethread the whole machine.
Nope,
Nope. Just add a
I
thread.
just have to add that thread in, and because it shows me right here on the screen what thread I'm going to be working with. Oops, I need to come up here. Not paying attention. Too busy talking. All right, then we're just going to bring the needle. So our needle's right here in our little handy dandy needle holder, and our tools are right here in the front that we can easily take the needle, slide it right in, and then thread. So all I've had to do is pick the stitch, add the needle, and thread.
That was very quick.
Very quick. And I'm just going to take this same piece of fabric, slide it up underneath the foot, and stitch. Now, because this is a heavier thread, okay, you may want to lengthen the stitch just a little bit. But you may or may not have to, depending upon the weight of that thread. So now when we add the extra thread or the extra needle, what that's just done is it has made our stitch a little wider. See how easy that was?
Very easy.
Very easy.
And it's a beautiful stitch.
Yeah, it's a very,
No
very nice
adjustment.
stitch.
Nothing.
No, you saw how easy that was. Now, when you're using a cover stitch, it actually has two sides to the stitch. So if you're using it for what I always call utility stitching, you would generally see the two needle threads, and that also looks like twin needle stitching.
Nice.
Okay, all right. So now, when we're working with and moving over to the cover or to the overlock side, we're able to then take our stitch and we're going to go over to the overlock. Let me show something real quick to those that are watching, because when we look at this also, you can combine your chain and cover stitching your chain stitch along with the overlock stitch, which are called combo stitches. So depending on the position of your needle, you either have your needle in 3 different positions, and as you can see, it does affect and adjust the width of your seam allowance. So if you're a garment sewist and you're using a full 5/8 inch seam allowance, you could simply skim the edge of your fabric and have an edge finish, as well as have the overlock and chain stitch seam. Okay, 1/4 inch and, 3/8 and 1/2 inch as well. All right. Now, when we move to looking at the quilting side of this, if you're also a quilter and you want to have that 1/4 inch seam allowance, because you have all those markings that are on the toe of your presser foot, you can actually stitch using those markings and achieve a true 1/4 inch stitch for your seams. And because you can sew at 1,500 stitches a minute, it gives you very smooth, accurate seaming, as well as your feed dogs being longer, you're not having the push on the fabric strips like you do on your sewing machine.
Gotcha.
All right.
Who knew you could quilt on a serger?
I know, I know. Can you show them? So what we did too is we took, this is just a tote bag that we had taken and cut it all apart, because you know you go to events and different places and you have all those bags. So what we've done is we've taken the center part and did some crosshatch stitching, and it looks just like your stitching that you would have on your sewing machine.
Right.
But this was done with the chain stitch. Then the gathering, we did the gathering using the differential feed and the chain stitch as well. Okay, and some decorative chain stitching. And this is blending your threads together more than just one thread in your looper. Okay, very cool.
More than one in your looper?
Yeah, because your loopers are so much bigger, you can certainly have those added threads into the looper as well.
My favorite stitch.
2-thread flat lock, we're gonna move into that. And as you can see, because we have 9mm wide stitching, you can create a very, very wide decorative stitch. And if you're a quilter and you're going to be piecing your batting together, because of course we never throw anything away, you can piece together the batting, and you can see here that it's completely flat. You don't have any seam allowance that you're dealing with on that batting. Okay. So again, it's very simple to move over to that overlock stitch. And we simply select the stitch, and we have it now in the expert mode. And we're just going to slide this extra cutting table on. We do need to use our upper loopers, so we'll engage the upper looper and step on the foot pedal, and that brings the upper looper back into the sewing position, not having to use our hand wheel. And now I'm just going to move the needles from the cover stitch to the overlock. So I'm just moving both of these needles over to the overlock position. Okay, so we move both of them.
And wait, you didn't even unthread the needles.
I didn't unthread the needles.
What?
I don't unthread the needles yet, because if I drop the needle, that thread is going to hold on to hold on to them so they don't fall down inside the machine.
Not that we ever done that.
Not that we've ever done that.
Yeah.
But another reason that I don't unthread the needles at first thing is I don't have to rethread, and I'm going to have you zoom out just for a minute. And again, back in our threading area, because we're using the left needle and the right needle, okay? Remember we had the threads in these 2 positions for the cover stitch, okay? They're going to stay in that same position for overlock stitching.
Nice.
Nice. I love that part. And all I'm going to do is pull the thread out, and I'm going to bring it into the overlock needles. And that makes it so easy to move from one stitch to another. And again, it's always going to stay in that same threading position because of what we call one-path threading. One-path threading will give you the opportunity to keep the threads in the same path no matter what kind of stitch you're going to be using. So no more confusing thread paths or what position do I put my thread in. It always stays in the same place. Now, I can also take my foot and come down just a little bit. There we go. And I can move my foot out of the way.
What?
Yeah, I love that. So for threading, or even more importantly, when you're going to be stitching and you're coming around, let's say you're doing some placemats and you're finishing the edge of something, and you're coming around and you need to overlap your stitches just a little bit.
I didn't think about that. The light bulbs are
Take your stop, turn your foot out of the way, see if you're overlapped enough or in the right spot, then move your foot, and it won't let you sew with your foot in this position. So if you lower the presser foot lifter, the foot automatically snaps into place.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so I'm just going to take the thread out of that chain looper. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell everyone that with the chain looper, I can keep my machine down in the cabinet when I thread the chain looper, because the chain looper thread comes out right where all of your other overlock threads do.
So I don't have to open the side to check, make sure it's
you
there
don't
anymore?
Yep,
Oh,
nope,
wow.
it's right there in front with all of your other threads.
Nice.
So engaging your threading, step on the foot pedal, hover your thread, and just let it go. Super easy to thread and get your threads in the proper position. And you know, I always like to show threading the needles first, because if you would do that on other machines, you'd get all jammed up.
Yeah, you'd be cutting the whole thing again.
Yes, you'd be cutting the whole thing and starting all again. But with air threading, you can thread in absolutely any order.
Nice.
Okay. All right, so we are all set for overlock stitching. Wasn't that easy?
That was quick and easy.
It was very fast. It was very easy to move it from one stitch to another. So when we come to the overlock stitching, you have the 4 thread, you have 3 thread, you have rolled hem, and that 2 thread flat lock. And again, your stitch width is going to go anywhere from 2 millimeters all the way up to 9 millimeters in width. So you have a wide variety of stitch width. Now for those of you that are quilters, and we were looking at different stitches earlier for the chain stitch for stitching, here you have, let me scoot that over, here I'm going to show you 3 other stitches. So you have a 4 thread overlock stitch, a 3 thread overlock, and then also your 2 thread. And the 2 thread we also saw on the batting earlier as well. But with each of these stitches, you can set it to the 5.5 millimeter stitch width, and you have a perfect 1/4 of an inch.
Nice.
Now, also on the presser foot, it's so important because you have not only the markings that are positioning for your needles, but there's also a mark that's on the foot for the cutting blade.
Oh, so you know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So when you are looking at just skimming the edge of your fabric, you can look and reference the indented mark that's on the toe of the foot, and it will just skim the edge of your fabric. Okay, so as we're going to be working with the L890, you can very definitely see how easy it is to move from one stitch to another.
Right.
You can also see that when you're going to be moving from chain and cover stitching to overlock stitching, exactly how easy that's going to be
Right.
as you're going to be stitching. So when we're ready to sew with a 4-thread overlock stitch, and here's a piece of fabric, and it's kind of a thicker fabric. We can also adjust the cutting blade. Can you see how the blade is moving up and down there? Okay, it's adjusted on the side of your machine. And because, again, your needles are in the up position, so is your cutting blade. And you're not going to scoot it too far ahead so that it's not going to be cutting as you start to stitch. Oh, my differential feed is set here. So I'm going to set this back to my original settings. And then we have our 4-thread stitch that we did using the setting. Oops, let's come back here. And it's a little hard to see because we have it on the gray fabric there. But you have a 4-thread overlock stitch, and this is set at a 5.5 stitch width.
Nice. And that was on like a knit, right?
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
on a knit, so you still have stretch and flexibility on the knit fabrics, or you can use it again just for finishing the edges of your seams for a woven fabric.
So like with the knife adjustment, you can do thicker like denim. You can do like, I know I do a lot of fleece blankets and the thickness of that.
And here's the thing too, Jackie, that because we have 9mm wide stitching, your blade has to be able to come up higher.
Right.
And your looper has to be able to come over farther to
the
accommodate
thick, yeah.
that wider stitch. So that also will accommodate thicker fabrics as
Nice.
well.
That's great, because you know we want to put anything and everything through their
Of course
sergers.
we do. Of course we do. We want to push it and push it to
Exactly.
the maximum.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, you know, I just have absolutely fallen in love with this machine, and both the L850 and the L890 are such smooth running machines, and they're a great addition to anyone's sewing room for sure.
Wow. Yes. So I just love sergers, and
I know. It's
Remember
always kind of been my
remember
thing.
Way back when, the bow tie quilt, we did all tons on sergers. That was
Yep.
so fun, and you know, you do everything on sergers.
And you know, I always tell everyone too, that with serging, especially with a machine that can do chain and cover stitching,
Right.
we need to come off the edge.
Right.
You know, come off the edge of with your serger and try new and different decorative ways of using your machines. And you can see all the different ways that we've used the machine with the stitches that are decorative and also very functional ways as well.
Even a little edging and everything like that. Oh, I love the chain stitch on that. My favorite stitch. Little
Flat lock stitch, you know, and
quick and easy.
with that also allows you to use varying widths of your stitch. So when you're working with just 2 pieces of fabric, you don't need your stitch quite as wide.
Right.
But when you have 2 pieces of batting and 4 layers of fabric, your width needs to be wider so that it flattens out just the same.
On it. Oh, I gotta show this bag. This bag's really nice. Look at the back.
Yeah, that's all chain and cover stitching. And again, blending your threads together so you get a different look.
And you're so even.
All of us,
It's so perfect.
all of us are good collectors of fabrics and threads. And Jackie, at your store, you have the best selection of decorative threads.
Thank you.
Yes.
We try, because I like thread.
Yeah.
On it. So that's great. Should we tell them the price?
Yeah.
All right. So let's put the price up. And I gotta use my clicker.
Use the clicker.
On it. So again, this is the L890. It's Bernina's top serger
Right.
on it. And normally the MSRP is $79.99, and the Expo price is $64.99. And again, we're throwing in the trolley and the big book of serging. You can't beat that.
Right.
Plus, we have 0% financing available. So
That's fantastic.
exactly. You could do, you know, a couple, about $100 a month, maybe, if that. And you could do, have a new serger on it. So these are on sale through the week. or come see Pam, because Pam, you can test
we're
drive
gonna
this.
be
She'll
back
be
here.
Yeah, and we can do all the fun. You can test. We could do our little make
here.
and take. This was our
That
make and take. We did.
This was our little make and take. We did do a different color variation,
Yeah.
but this is our little make and take that
Right.
if you come on down and come and play with us a little bit, we'll make one of these together.
Right. But we do have something exciting coming up. So if they're not ready, but they want to get their hands on it, they're not available now, is in April, we are having our mystery overlock lab.
Yeah.
So it is a mystery, even to the educators right now on it. So we'll put the last slide up that kind of gives you an idea. It's April, click, April 9th and 10th. It is in our big event center. So again, we require masks and social
Good
distancing, you know, yeah. So it's $129 for both days, but you know what? You get to sew on both of these sergers and you get to test drive them.
Right.
And the mystery is Bernina this year is doing mystery make and takes basically, or make overlock edition, is you basically use all the fun stitches
Right.
and all that. And at the end, there's a mystery of what you make. So it could be anything. I can't even tell you what it is. They haven't told me yet. I tried, trust me, I tried. Mary, I tried
to pull it out of us.
Yeah, she won't let me. You know, Pam was like, nope, on it. So it's fun, and we just did our mystery make for the sewing, the embroidery, and it turned out so cute. It was a really fun project. Everyone loved it. So
What we can tell you is you're going to love it.
exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's
you're going
great.
to have a lot of fun. You're going to experience the machines in ways that you may have not been able to experience before.
Right, going to the limits.
Going to the limits.
Yeah, that's
Coming
right.
off the edge.
Exactly. I like that. We're doing that. That's a new campaign on it. Well, I want to thank you, Pam, for coming.
You're welcome.
It was
great
awesome.
to be here.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, either type in the comments, call the store, or again, we're here, 35th Avenue and Northern in Phoenix on it. And again, share us, like us, then you get into the drawing, go to the website. And we do offer all classes and things like that. And, you know, so visit us either in store or on the website on it. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Great to see you again.